Welcome to Narc Abuse No More, where we're here to help educate you about narcissistic abuse, because your feelings do matter. Hi, and welcome to another broadcast of Narc Abuse No More with your host, Dr. and Evangelist K.O. Rich. Thanks for tuning in today. Today is Monday, July the 25th of 2022. I pray that you've had a blessed, stress-free, narcissistic-free, abuse-free week so far, and that the remainder of this week will continue to be so as well. But if not, we're going to be talking about a few things today. Again, my name is Dr. K.O. Rich with Narc Abuse No More, where we're here to help you admit what you feel in order to heal from the effects of narcissistic abuse, because your feelings do matter. Yes, they do. But before we go on with today's broadcast and podcast, I'm going to invite you to visit us on our website at www.narcabusenomore.org. Again, that website address is www.narcabusenomore.org, or you can type in narcissistic-abuse-no-more.com. Again, that's narcissistic-abuse-no-more.com. And on our website, you find valuable information regarding narcissism, regarding relationships. I have put up a couple of blogs that you can actually check out towards the bottom of the front page. And you can also listen to this podcast if you have missed any of them. Guess what? You can always go into the archives. Now, we are on every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday at 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, 9 a.m. Central on SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Spreaker, Google Play, iTunes, Deezer, Castbox. We're also on Rumble, YouTube, and Amazon Audible. Now, let me just let you know this. If you are unable to tune in, then go ahead and download those platforms, whichever one is your favorite. Put us in your favorites once you do, and then you can listen to us at the time of your choice. So it doesn't matter if it's 5 o'clock in the evening or 1 a.m. You can always listen to the podcast and go back and listen to some of the other ones that we have aired throughout the years. I think it's been 5 years now. I think it's been about 5 years that we have been on the air. And also, let me just let you all know something, because I'm not doing any online, let me take that back. I'm not doing any phone counseling anymore. However, because I prefer to do it in person. But you can still email me questions that you have, and some of you do. So it's best to not try to contact me via phone. I'm often busy. I don't have time to answer the phone calls like I used to. But the thing is that you can also email me. That's the best way to either message or email me. You can email at narcissistic-abuse-no-more@mail.com. Let me make sure I am giving you. Actually, it's best to go on the website and use the form that's on there, and then you can contact me from there. And I believe it's narcissistic-abuse-no-more.com. That's narcissistic. I'm sorry. Let me just take that back. Narcissistic-abuse-no-more@mail.com. That's narcissistic-abuse-no-more@mail.com. And then you can email from there, or just go directly to the website, put in a message on the website, and then I'll get it. For those of you who are following on Facebook, Narcissistic Abuse No More on Facebook, then I do get your messages, and then I try to get back to you as soon as I can. I also want to thank those who donate. I do appreciate the donations that come in to keep this podcast going on the air. All right, so what are we talking about today? We're talking about emotional bullies. Emotional bullies. And you probably recall in school, when we were mostly, I'm going to start off with elementary school. We went all the way up to high school, and then some of them turned into adult emotional bullies. But in elementary school, you may have seen these kids that were often bullied and teased by other children. I was one of the ones that got teased, not so much bullied in that aspect, but often teased. But the thing is that you would sometimes see a kid that a lot of other kids was afraid of. And so therefore they would rally around this one kid who was the bully, and whoever this bully chose to be the target of their abuse, then they would pick on that particular kid, and it would often be fights and everything. Now the bullies normally didn't go after the ones they knew was going to stand up to them. They went after the ones which they considered as the weaker vessels, who would not maybe didn't know how to fight, maybe was too scared to get into a confrontation. And so those are the ones that they often chose to bully. I remember in high school when you would see girls getting into fights, it was often you had this bully that would fight someone who they didn't feel was a threat to them, and it was often with the girls, it was often over some kind of boy who didn't want thinking about them anyway. But anyway. But you have this bully mentality that's still in grown adults. You have this in adults, that they have this bully mentality, and you want to be able to recognize it. Some of you may have married into this. You may have married an emotional bully. So we're gonna talk about that, the bully mentality and recognizing emotional bullies. And this can be either a male or a female. Now, women, and let me just say this, because on this particular broadcast, we are an equal opportunity offender. All right. What does that mean? I talk about the men just like I talk about the women. And if I failed to do so, it was not intentionally. Okay, but we have here where you have this, most of the time, a lot of times it's women. Women are emotional bullies, especially when it comes to their husbands, when it comes to people that they're dating, even their children. They are emotional bullies. You will have those that take advantage of your position in the family. They're an emotional bully. It could be the mother that emotionally bullies the son, or the father emotionally bullying the daughter, or the mother emotionally bullying the daughter, because I get a lot of people that ask questions regarding the mother-daughter dynamics of their mother in their eyes is an emotional bully. They may not know it in that particular term, but we're here talking today so you can recognize it when you see it. You have this mother that is an emotional bully, and the reason she is often like that because she knows that this child is not going to do anything to how I put it, to disrespect her position as the mother. And so therefore this mother takes advantage of it and bullies her daughter emotionally, or the son emotionally. So we're going to talk about recognizing this and in this relationship, and you can see if you have maybe a spouse that's an emotional bully. It could be your mother-in-law that's an emotional bully, or somebody on the job that's an emotional bully. So number one, bullying. If a person, oftentimes bullies, they if they don't get their way, then you're going to suffer from what we often call narcissistic rage, and they want to control you, so they will resort to what is often known as emotional intimidation to try to get you to do whatever it is that they want you to do. They will verbally threaten you, they will verbally assault you, they want to feel powerful, they want to guilt you, they want to make you feel bad. And people that are narcissists are emotional bullies. Okay, so you have to understand where you're coming from when you're thinking, when you are in a relationship of any kind, whether it's a intimate relationship with your spouse, whether it's a relationship with family members, maybe with co-workers, so-called friends, even at the church. You need to understand when you're dealing with emotional bullies, these type of people, they want to control those whom they consider as weak. They will be aggressive. They will project their anger and their insecurities. Because let me just say this: at the end of a bully, they're actually insecure. That bully, that facade that they wear to seem as if they're big and bad, is often cloaking their insecurities. So therefore, when you feel like, oh, this person, I need to be fearful of this person, actually that person is fearful of you, maybe in a different sense, but you may be a threat to them in their own eyes. So therefore, they want to make sure that they keep you in line to make you feel like you have a certain place that you better not step out of, and therefore they result to bullying. And what happens? You feel devalued. You might feel alone. You might feel sad. You might even lose your self-esteem. And let me just make sure to tell you this: do not trauma bond with your abuser. And sometimes this can be hard to do when you know the history of that abuser, because oftentimes hurt people, which means that they may have grown up in a situation that was not conducive to having an emotionally mental. They may have grown up in a situation that may not have been conducive to their emotional health. They may have been abused by a parent. They may have seen abuse through their parents. They may have been grown up as through a single parent raising them, and the parent may not have been around, and they may have gone through some other situations. But let me just say this: you may understand all of that, because most of the time when you're dealing with some abusers, it's often because they have been abused themselves. Whether it was physical, verbal, sexual, whatever, they may have been abused themselves, and so then they turned into, instead of getting help to do the opposite, they turned into the actual abuser themselves. However, you may understand all of that, but that does not give them the excuse to abuse you. So do not trauma bond with your abuser because you're making excuses. You're saying, well, I'm going to take the abuse because after all, I know that what they've gone through. That does not give them the right to do it to you. So many people wind up having Stockholm syndrome because they are bonding with the abuser and saying, well, I'm going to take this abuse because after all, somebody hurt them. Well, what about the hurt that they're doing to you? You might say, well, I'm going to stay in this marriage because even though he's knocking me upside my head, I'm going to stay in this marriage because after all, his father beat him and was an alcoholic, and he wound up going to jail and wasn't around his father. You can make up 100 tons of excuses for this person's behavior, and they may be valid for its reasons as to why that person may have geared in that direction toward being an abuser, but it does not excuse their behavior. So you don't owe yourself to identify with the aggressor in the sense that you allow yourself to be the victim, the target of their abuse. And when you understand that you deserve better, then you can move forward in the right direction. Number 2, emotional bullies have unreasonable expectations. No matter how much you try, it is never enough. Recently, I had taken this class. For those of you who know, I'm working on my second doctorate degree. It's in community care and counseling with an emphasis in traumatology. And I had taken this class, and it seemed like regardless of how much work I was doing, the teacher, it was always something wrong. And so I'm the type of person where I say, well, let me evaluate myself just to make sure. Maybe it's something I am doing wrong, because I'm used to getting just A's in my classes for the most part. And, you know, I try to apply myself. My first doctorate that I just got, I was actually a straight A. I was able to graduate with distinction, which means with honors. And so I was like, what is going on? Because it's like, no matter how much I'm trying in this class, I just can't. It's always something wrong. So the teacher had given a sample of something we were supposed to do, and I looked at the sample that he gave us, and I was like, okay, I'm gonna just make sure that I go according to the sample. Still, it didn't work. So I was like, okay, and I was noticing something else that another classmate of mine was saying in the comments, and I believe it was geared toward the teacher. So I always give the teacher the benefit of the doubt. So I wound up Googling the teacher, because I was like, something's not right with this. It just seemed something wasn't right. So I just Googled the teacher just to see what would come up. What did I do that for? He had reviews that were on a scale of 5. I believe his average review was 2.5. It might have been 2, but it was 2.5. I'm giving 2.5. And some of the things that they were saying about this teacher was what I was actually experiencing in this class. And one of the things they said, no matter how much you try in this class, this teacher, it is impossible to please this teacher. And so I just was looking at the comments and everything. I was like, wow. So I decided to email the teacher myself. And I told the teacher that I thought that his grading was harsh, very harsh. And it was like nothing that you could do in this class was satisfactory, because he had these unreasonable expectations. Now, this teacher, in my opinion, has some narcissistic traits, because at the end of the day, he was like, well, I stand by my grade or whatever. I've been doing this for a long time. I don't care how long you've been doing it. Everyone still needs to reassess their own selves just to make sure that they might need to change something. Not saying change the quality or the expectation of what is desired, what is expected out of that course, but sometimes teachers get it mixed up with their personal feelings or their personal expectations rather than what's required of that course. Anyway, I gave the teacher, what I thought. And of course I signed it with Dr. Rich as well to let him know, because I was at the end of the class and I didn't care what he thought anyway. I'm like, but I wound up getting the B out of the class, but I wanted to get an A, but it was almost, in my opinion, impossible for me to get an A out of that class. So going back to what I was talking about just now is unreasonable expectations. No matter how hard you try, you can give your all. When you're dealing with an emotional bully, it is never good enough. Never good enough. They will expect you to drop everything at the drop of the dime, regardless of what you're doing, to attend to them. Because after all, when you're dealing with narcissistic type of individuals, they're very needy. They want you to attend to their needs. It doesn't matter what you feel, what you think, what you got going on. You need to drop everything to attend to them. No matter how inconvenient it is, they must come first in their own minds. It's an endless amount of expectations that you are never able to meet, and they expect you to be Superman or some power hero, but you would never be able to meet their expectations. You could be the best spouse, the best daughter, or the best son, or the best worker, and you will never be able to meet the expectations of this particular individual. There is no pleasing them. And let me just say this: when you know that you're dealing with someone that's an emotional bully, don't try, because they get off on you trying to jump hoops and bounds, but they will never be appreciative to the things that you do. And let me just say this: another thing that you will often see when you're dealing with emotional bullies, sometimes they may even compliment you to others and say, oh, I got the best husband, I got the best child, I got the best co-worker, I got the best team on me, with for as the team of workers. And at the same time, you will never hear it, because they will never say it to you, because they don't want you to feel as if you're doing a good job. So as long as they don't say it to you, they can keep you under their thumb, because they don't want you feeling higher than they think you should. And what this does is you feel as if you are powerless to win at anything in this relationship. And in actuality, you may not be able to win with that person, but you are not powerless. You can decide that, you know what, I'm no longer going to be their rug. I'm not going to be their punching bag. I'm not going to just take anything just because I'm trying to please and appease this individual. The next thing you will see when you're dealing with emotional abusers, you will deal with their verbal attacks. They will blame you for anything. They will attack you in any area. They will criticize you. They will try to humiliate you. They will yell at you. They will scream at you. They will try to do anything to intimidate you verbally. They will verbally assault you. They will call you out of your name. They will make you feel as if you are incompetent. And they get joy out of this. They want to try to humiliate you. And let's be honest, that does not feel good, does it? But your self-confidence has to grow in order to say, you know what, I'm not taking this anymore. And even when people try to get you to succumb to this emotional bully, you have to tell yourself, I have the right to be respected. I have the right to be treated with dignity. I have the right for someone to treat me as if I'm a human being. So therefore, you do not have to take any verbal attacks from an emotional bully. And if they cannot talk to you with dignity and respect, then guess what? They do not deserve you. See, so many times we may allow others to abuse us thinking that we deserve it, because you don't have that self-esteem. You don't have that sense of self-worth. And let me just say this: it doesn't matter who it is, whether it's a spouse, whether it's a parent, whether it's a child, whether it's a co-worker or a so-called friend. You deserve respect. You deserve for people to treat you right. No one has the right to be yelling and shouting and calling you names and trying to humiliate you and threatening you and criticizing you. And most of the time, when you're dealing with bullies, they criticize you over the very thing that they can't do themselves. Come on now. They have done nothing themselves, but then they got the nerve to critique you, to criticize you, to try to call you out on something, but they're not doing anything themselves. What have they done to contribute to anything? The very thing that they criticize you about, they're incompetent in that area themselves. See, you got to get to the point where you don't listen to these nags, these verbal abusers, these emotional bullies. because they get off on being able to feel as if they are they are superior than you, and they're not superior to a flea. Anytime that you have to bully someone, then that shows really how much you think of yourself, and it actually tells others that you're not in control of you. They're trying to control everything except for who they are. And I've experienced this. And let me just tell you something. Don't listen to them, because they're incompetent. They're cowards. And at the end of a bully is a coward. They're not able to face things themselves, so then they try to pick at other people, try to see what they feel is their flaws instead of turning the mirror around and looking at themselves and working on themselves. They are absolute cowards. And when you know you're dealing with a coward, you don't have to be afraid of a coward, because they're afraid of themselves. Come on now. We're going to take a quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
Out of the shadows, bound for the gallows, a dead man walking, till love came calling. Rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. 6 feet under, I thought it was over, and answered a prayer, the voice of a savior. Rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. All it was, I came alive. This beat alive, these open eyes, the glow, the darkness should have known. You're still rolling strong. You're still rolling, rolling. You're still rolling strong. Now that you saved me, I sing 'cause you gave me a song of revival. I put it on vinyl. Rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. I once was blinded, but now I see it. I heard about the power, and now I believe it. Oh, rise up, rise up, rise up, rise up. All it was, I came alive. This beat alive, these open eyes, the golden, the darkness should have known. You're still rolling strong. You're still rolling, rolling. You're still rolling strong. I thought that I was too far gone for everything I've done wrong. Yeah, I'm the one who dug this grave, but you called my name. You called my name. I thought that I was too far gone for everything I've done wrong. Yeah, I'm the one who dug this grave, but you called my name. You called my name. All it was, I came alive. This beat alive, these open eyes, the golden, the darkness should have known. You're still rolling, you're still rolling, rolling. Oh, you're still rolling strong. You're still rolling, rolling. Oh, you're still rolling strong. You're still rolling, rolling. Oh, you're still rolling strong. You're still rolling, rolling. You're still rolling, rolling. You're still rolling, rolling. You're still rolling strong.
Still Rolling Stones, and that is by Lauren Daigle. right. So, and you do have to rise up against these bullies, because guess what? They will keep bullying you as long as you don't rise up. It will crush your self-esteem, your self-confidence, your self-worth will all disappear if you don't rise up against these bullies. And what I mean by rise up, that means stop them from bullying you. Hey, sometimes you gotta put some distance in between you and these emotional bullies in order to have your peace. I don't care if it's even a parent, a family member, or something. You have to sometimes put some distance between yourself and say, you know what, I can't deal with this person as often as I've been dealing with it. You might have to go low contact and say, you know what, I'm only gonna call them on designated times, holidays, birthdays, and maybe to let that be it, because they're so toxic. You have to guard your own heart. The Bible even talks about that, guarding your own heart. Don't allow yourself to be abused. And I'm gonna real soon. I'm not sure if it's gonna be the very next broadcast. I'm gonna have to take a segment to talk to those who feel like they are biblically obligated to take abuse. Because so many Christians, and I see this in comments on social media, they feel like, oh, well, because Jesus said in the Beatitudes that we are to blessed are the peacemakers and everything, and yes, you are blessed, and we are to be Christians. For those of us who are, we are to act as Jesus did. But then even Jesus didn't answer the accusations of all his accusers when we see when he went before trial, and there were times where Jesus was silent and he didn't say anything. That right there is disconnecting from those who are trying to accuse and abuse you. We're going to talk about that a little in another segment, because sometimes the church will keep you bound in abuse, and you feel as if I'm being a Christian because I'm taking abuse, and that's not what the Bible is saying. And we're going to real soon I'm going to do an episode where I have verses that will show you where abuse is not acceptable by God. You see, people think, oh, it's persecution. That's not persecution. That's abuse. When you are with a spouse and that spouse is laying his hands on you, and I'm not talking about to pray for you or anoint you, I'm talking about he beating you, that is not persecution. That is abuse. See, we're gonna talk about that in the upcoming segment. Gaslighting. One of the things that bullies love to do is to gaslight you, to make you feel like you imagined the abuse, that you're making things up, that they're not treating you the way that you feel that you're being treated. And this will cause you to, when you're trying to defend yourself against this, you're telling them, well, you're doing this to me or you're doing that to me, and they're gonna, of course, they're not gonna admit that they're doing anything, because bullies don't admit that they're bullying you. They don't admit that they're abusing you. They don't admit that they're harming you. So you might be dealing with someone who is narcissistic or has borderline personality or whatever the case may be, and they spiral out of control. However, you might ask yourself, well, maybe they got something wrong with them and maybe I have to take this abuse. No, you do not. What you do is you tell that person, I would suggest that you go talk to a counselor. But when you're dealing with narcissists, they're not going to go talk to counselors unless they can try to manipulate the counselor. And if the counselor is on cue with being able to know if they are a narcissist or not, then that they're going to immediately become enemy number one. Because guess what? Narcissists don't normally want anyone to uncover who they really are. They like to thrive in secrecy. They don't want people to know that they are really a narcissist, because the charm effect. See, narcissists are so good with charming. So therefore, they're going to gaslight anyone who tries to tell them and recognize who they really are. They're going to try to charm you out of it. They're going to try to be critical of you. They're going to say, well, it wasn't their fault, or you don't know what you're talking about, or you imagining things, or you're making things up, or they're going to make you feel as if you're lying on them. And when you're dealing with someone that's gaslighting you, it will cause you to doubt your sanity. It will make you feel as if, well, you know what, you're gonna be confused. You're gonna be you're gonna feel like you're helpless. You're gonna be bewildered. You're gonna be questioning everything about yourself. Maybe it's me, and no, it's the bully that's gaslighting you to make you feel as if it's you when it's actually the bully. And let me just say this: don't think that you're gonna get any support from their enablers. When you're dealing with bullies, they will have their entourage around them. Okay, they will have their armor bearers around them to support them. So do not think you're gonna change the mindset of their enablers, those who support the bully. Because after all, the enablers feel as if they got more to lose from losing their relationship or their place with the bully than they do with standing up for you. When you're dealing with bullies, you can imagine that you're not going to get anywhere. So therefore, you're going to get these responses that come out of nowhere. They react differently to you. You never know what kind of bag they're going to come out of on any given day. Monday they may be fine. Tuesday they may be okay. Wednesday goes back to the same. Thursday they full blast. Friday may have calmed down. And this is what we have talked about over and over again on this broadcast, the cycle of abuse. They may tell you one day that things are okay, and then the next thing is not. And you're walking on what they call a landmine because you don't know on what given day they're gonna blow up. You're walking on eggshells all the time when you're dealing with these type of individuals. Who wants to be in a relationship with someone where you're constantly walking on eggshells? They be fine for a moment, and the next thing you know, they're blowing up. And this it's not saying that they're like this maybe 5 minutes from now. No, you could be walking fine with them for maybe a couple of weeks, and then all of a sudden, out of nowhere, the drama king or the drama queen arrives again in their chariot, ready to trample over you. So you're constantly on edge when you're dealing with these type of people. You're constantly on edge. You don't know when the next shoe is going to drop, when the next bomb is going to go explode, and you're traumatized because you're getting whiplash. You don't know how to be in this relationship. And let me just say this, because one of the things that abusers do, they will make you feel secure as if it's not going to happen again, that everything is going to be okay, because you will have that honeymoon phase, that nice, that season of niceness when they're being nice. But you can guarantee when you're dealing with someone that is emotionally unstable, it's just like the Bible says that a double-minded man is unstable in all his ways. So therefore, when you're dealing with somebody that's unstable, you can guarantee that the double side of them will come back. You're seeing Dr. Jekyll for a while, but Mr. Hyde is coming back to the surface. And you might be questioning yourself, well, maybe it's me. No, it's not you, it's them. That's what they want you to do. They want you to feel as if it's something wrong with you. When you're dealing with emotionally unbalanced individuals, they sometimes try to make the other people around them seem as if they are something wrong with them, when it's actually that particular individual that needs to go get therapy. They need some counseling. They need some help. And let me just say this: when you are dealing with someone that has not gotten the counseling or the therapy that they need, you're going to keep going round and round and round. And it comes a time when you have to say, when you get tired, you have to say, enough is enough. I am sick of going through hell and back because of this particular individual. And you get tired. And you're saying, you know what? Enough is enough. You're dealing with constant drama. It's always some kind of conflict. It's like they get their energy, their adrenaline just off of drama. They will intentionally start arguments. They will they don't want to be called out on what they're doing. They are trying to always pick a fight with you. It's like they're never happy. These are miserable individuals, miserable people. And there is nothing you can do to make them happy. You cannot make a miserable person happy if they choose not to be happy. You can give them all the happy pills they want, but if they don't take it, okay? So when you're dealing with these type of individuals, don't think that it's something that you can do to change who they are. They are who they are. They have to go get counseling, because it's often their mental process is distorted, and there's nothing that you can do about it. And so on this broadcast, I often talk to the victims, because of the victims, you're thinking that it's something that you're doing. You're thinking that it's something that maybe if I change, if I can do this, if I can do that, if I could be a better person, if I could be a better wife, if I could be a better husband, if I could be a better child, or whatever. There's nothing that you would do, you would be able to do, because they will always find something that is wrong with you. When you're dealing with an emotionally unstable individual, you have to come to the realization that it is not you. There's nothing that you will ever be able to do to change their mental state. They have to go get professional help. The only thing you can do is pray for them. But when it comes to you changing their outlook on things, you can't do it. You're fighting an endless battle. You will never win, because you're dealing with instability. See, we got to get to the point where we stop trying to fix people. When I say we, I'm a counselor, so I can counsel, but I'm just saying this. You have to get to the point where you try to stop fixing people. You can't fix someone that's emotionally broken. You can pray for them. You can make suggestions if they will hear you to go get counseling from someone. But you can't be the fixer. God is the only one that can fix broken people. And then he often uses people down here, such as myself, counselors, that can counsel. But even I can't counsel family members when they're broken, when they're emotionally unbalanced, because I'm too involved. So I would recommend they go get some counseling somewhere else. You have to know your limitations. Another thing you will deal with when you're dealing with emotional bullies is you will see them emotionally blackmail you. They may threaten to leave you. They may threaten to end the relationship. They may not be attentive. If you don't play by their rules, they know if you want the relationship. They know where your values are. They know what pushes your buttons. And trust me, when you're dealing with emotional blackmailers, they will push your buttons. They may play on your fears, your vulnerabilities. They know how to use things in order to get what they want out of you. And so then you feel like you've been used, manipulated, and controlled. You will not be able to win when you're dealing with an emotional blackmailer. It leads us into rejection. They won't talk to you. They will sometimes, even if you're in a marriage, withhold affection from you. They try to let you know that they're in control. They will give you the cold shoulder. And you're wondering what is going on. You're hurting from this, and they make accusations of you being the way that they are. See, they try to flip the script, and they project whatever they're doing to you, they will say that you're doing to them, because at the end of the day, they want to portray themselves as the victim. And so therefore, if you're in this relationship and you have this emotional abuser, you will feel as if you're unwanted. You will feel as if, well, something must be wrong with me, or you might feel like no one will love me, and they want you to feel that way, where it's something wrong with you. They will even make you feel like you don't deserve to have anyone in your life that you're friends with, and if you have friends, they're only you don't deserve to have friends. Emotional bullies will make you feel like you don't deserve to have love. And it's the best thing you can do is distance yourself from that relationship. If you're dealing with an emotional abuser, get help, get some counseling, get some therapy, so that you can have some kind of sense of direction. We're going to take another quick break, and we'll be back in just a moment.
I keep fighting voices in my mind that say I'm not enough. Every single lie that tells me I will never measure up. Am I more than just the sum of every high and every low? Remind me once again just who I am, because I need to know. Ooh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. And you say I'm held when I am falling short. And when I don't belong, you say I'm yours. And I believe, I believe what you say of me. I believe the only thing that matters now is everything you think of me. In you I find my worth, in you I find my identity. Ooh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. And you say I'm held when I am falling short. When I don't belong, you say I'm yours. And I believe, I believe what you say of me. I believe. Taking all I have and now I'm laying it at your feet. You'll have every failure, God. You'll have every victory. Ooh, you say I'm loved when I can't feel a thing. You say I'm strong when I think I'm weak. You say I'm held when I am falling short. When I don't belong, you say I'm yours.
So we're wrapping things up. When you're dealing with someone that's an emotional bully, they make demands that cause you to distance yourself from other people. Well, what am I talking about? They try to isolate you. They try to make you feel guilty for being around other people, for maybe having a life outside of them. Even if you are married, they want you to feel like you can't be around your extended family members. You can't be around friends. Even if you give them all the attention and everything, they will still make demands that will cause you to isolate yourself from others because you're afraid of having to deal with some kind of abuse, emotional abuse from them upon your return of maybe even going around these people. They will trash your friends. They will trash your family. They will be hostile to your friends and family. They will start arguments with you. They will make you feel as if you're doing something wrong just by having extended friends or family or co-workers, or if you're in a hobby, they will make you feel guilty for something that you have absolutely every right to have in your life. They make you feel as if their happiness depends solely on you. And then you wind up feeling trapped. You wind up feeling alone. You find out you wind up feeling like you can't talk to anybody about what goes on in the relationship, because they will try to make sure that you don't talk to anyone. They will try to make you feel like if you do open up and talk to other people, that you are doing something wrong. But let me just say this. You do not have to accept emotional abuse from anyone. I don't care if it's your mother, your father, your spouse, a friend, a boss, a co-worker. You do not have to accept emotional abuse. See, sometimes people feel as if I have to accept abuse from certain people because of the dynamics of the relationship that I'm in. No, you do not. Sometimes the best thing that you can do for your own emotional health is to separate, go low contact with those that you know are emotionally unstable. These type of people, they want to portray themselves as victims. They don't think that they need help. And so they're going to continue the abuse. You can go back and forth with this relationship. You wonder, why am I years going round and round with this type of abuse? It's because the person that's emotionally unstable has not gotten the help that they need. So therefore, you have to be the source of change. You can't expect that person, if that person does not get the help that they need, you cannot expect them to change. You have to be the source of change. You do not deserve to be bullied by someone that's emotionally unbalanced. And when you're dealing with someone who operates in this fashion, they will make you feel as if what they're doing is nothing wrong, that you're not being abused at all, that they're the victim and you're just making too much of things. But you have to understand that you deserve better. And sometimes, even if it's those closest to you, you have to pull back and say enough is enough. When you know that this person is not going to change, you just have to be real with yourself. No matter how much you may love the individual, you must be real with yourself and say, you know what, this person is not going to change. Now, I always make a disclaimer and say that anything is possible with God, but let me just tell you this. Sometimes even in the church, you have those that call themselves Christians that are emotionally unbalanced, and they need help. And you can preach and give sermons, and that person that's emotionally unbalanced, they're going to chew for them the meat and spit out the bone. But the thing is that they're going to look at it as everybody else, but they're never going to look at themselves and say, I need to do some work on me because I am harming other people. So therefore, You have to be that source of change. You have to gift yourself peace of mind. Yes, that's a gift. When you're dealing with emotionally unbalanced people, the best gift you can give yourself is peace of mind. And how do you give yourself that? By going low contact and sometimes no contact with that emotionally unbalanced person. This is not to say that people that are mentally challenged, you treat them in a bad way. I'm not saying that at all. No. It's some people that really don't know that, that there's something wrong. But the thing is, when you're dealing with emotional bullies, as you know, on the playground, bullies know what they're doing to other people. If you don't treat everybody that way, you know you're being selective. And you know what you're doing. So therefore, you have to be the one to say, abuse no more. All right, we're up out of here. I pray that today's broadcast has been a blessing to you. And that, let me just say this. If you are dealing with this, gift yourself that peace of mind. It's a gift to yourself. You deserve better. You deserve to not have someone take advantage of you emotionally, physically, psychologically, spiritually, being spiritually manipulative. We're going to talk about them spiritual abusers too, because they are a piece of work. They abuse so-called in the name of Jesus, and they're not. Let me just say this. You got a lot of abusers, spiritual manipulators that are in today's pulpits, in today's pews, leading today's choirs and praise teams and things. We're going to talk about that too. No one deserves to be abused. You do not deserve to be abused. You have to tell yourself that. I do not deserve to be abused. I deserve to be loved, never abused. Gift that to yourself. This is Dr. K.L. Rich with Narc Abuse No More, helping you to admit what you feel in order to heal from the effects of narcissistic abuse, because your feelings do matter. Until next time.